Got a little history on the festival and stuff like that. We gotta burn some down.
Good day to everybody in TV land. This is Mike Hittner with Historic Point Basse Update. Today with me is special guest Don Matthews. Welcome, Don.
Welcome, and thanks for having me here.
Yeah. Tom is off on vacation, so Don and I are going to handle the chores of the Historic Point Basse Update. We'd like to just regress a little bit. We'd like to go back and cover one of the events that was just in the past, and that was our Point Basse Pioneer Festival, which was the weekend of the 12th and 13th of June. So that was real current for us, and we'd like to just touch base with that and tell you how that went. Of course, on Saturday we had a little rain in the morning, but Don and I and everybody else that was on the site were extremely pleased with the number of people that came out about 11:30 on. It was beyond what we had anticipated considering the rain in the morning. So, Don, why don't you give us your perspective from, you were in the 3-bay shed most of the day doing your carpentry end of it and also helping with the ice cream and that sort of thing, and let us know what happened out on that side and how it went for you.
Yes, it's probably I would say the most enjoyable time of the Point Basse schedule for me, because we get to see so many people. And it's the first time we get to open our ice house up and see how the ice is,
We're always kind of amazed that there is actually ice there and how big the chunks are. The first couple usually are kind of a little shrunken because they're closest to the top and they melt down a little bit. But the ones below that, full-size chunks. So it's always amazing to see that 6 months after the fact when we cut it almost.
Kind of gives you memories back when we cut it
yes.
back in, and then you look forward to making ice cream, which is very popular. This year I tried to stay in my carpenter shop more, but it didn't work out that well. And then we got into some experimenting with the ice cream, especially on Sunday. We brought some chocolate mix and some blueberries, and we made a batch of chocolate ice cream, which went over very well. We just didn't have enough. Everybody was disappointed that when they heard about it that they couldn't taste it. But anyway, we'll try it again next year, and the blueberry went over well. What happened on Saturday was Kenny Harchie, he made the first experiment. We got some bananas and some strawberries from the kitchen
Yeah.
and made strawberry banana, and that really went over well. So that kind of got us going and experimenting.
And I think, Don, that I tried all 3 flavors, but I think the banana strawberry was still my favorite. I don't know, maybe just because it was the first one and it's a very subtle flavor.
Yes.
That it went over well. Traditionally, folks, we've always done just a pure vanilla ice cream. As Tom would always say, him coming from the ice cream business at Hirschlup's for years, if you can't make a good vanilla ice cream, then you can doctor it up with all kinds of flavors and hide the sins of that you created by not making a good quality product to begin with. So we always do a vanilla, which is very traditional, of course, but this year, with Ken's thoughts and Don's thoughts, we came up with some great flavors, and I think we'll continue on that. I think it's kind of fun, at least once or twice a day, to do a flavored one.
It's really surprised me that when I went back to the vanilla, I really still enjoyed the vanilla. So
Yes.
that's saying something.
Maybe it's variation, the spice of life, huh?
And then lately, the last couple of years, we've been displaying our ice and explaining to people how the ice is sawed, how it's harvested, some of the techniques for cutting it, and possible ways that that other systems that we don't use now, like plowing with a horse, and then how that system works after you plow it. And then we have a ice crusher now that we have incorporated. It's a big ice grinder is what it is, and it crushes ice into small chunks you can use for ice cream and crushed ice. And we've started to use it on site to help people cool their drinks and cool their drinks personally. We've always used it to in larger chunks to to cool our drinks and things like that. But it's just interesting how many more uses we can have it. You know, and the reason we're doing this is because we found that the ice lasts well into September, and many times we don't make enough use of it. So we made the decision, instead of just letting it go to waste, we'd use it more during the years and display it.
And the tendency is now, whenever we have an event at the site, we just had some scouts down for a weekend camp out, and they were helping with the chinking on the warehouse. And it was an Eagle Scout project, but these scouts were helping with it. And the beauty of that is that we did a small interpretation of the site for them, and Don got out some ice, and of course they're fascinated by this ice in big chunks and coming out of them in the middle of the sawdust bin, it looks like, to people from the outside. Yeah. And of course it's stored with sawdust around it to insulate it, but I think that every student that was there, the Boy Scouts, didn't matter what age they were intrigued by it.
And it's just amazing when people see how clear the ice is that comes out of Lake Nepco. It's crystal clear. I couldn't believe it the first time I seen it either. And you can explain how ice freezes with the different layers of bubbles. That ice doesn't freeze consistently every year. So it's a great demonstration of a natural phenomenon that Wisconsin used for many years to be a large benefit to their export.
And actually, there's some places yet in Wisconsin that still do harvest ice for sale to bigger venues, that people that are having church picnics and this sort of thing, and they're selling in big block ice for that purpose yet. Not much anymore, and of course, as Don alluded to, probably number 3 export in the early turn of the century years from the United States, mostly coming from probably the mid-Atlantic or the New England states is where most of it came from. And that was exported to Cuba and Haiti and India and different places like that. And we all take ice for granted, but it was a great show there. I don't think, Don, from what you told me later on, that you got too much done in the carpenter shop. You showed me some pegs you were working on.
Yes. We have just improved the layout of our carpenter shop timber display area, where it has a more of a feel of a real shop now. It's not so much two distinct areas as one that people can go through. And Tom Bremer did a lot of work on displaying the timber products, and myself and Jim Nichols and my son John, we built a large bench in back and moved the main workbench around, and now we can display more tools, and we're looking forward to improving it even more, possibly having a display on how saws are sharpened, more tools displayed. Right now, I don't think people were disappointed. We had a lot of things out, but I look forward to making that display even better and share more knowledge of the things. Even as I learn, I still have so much to learn, even though I spent my life in carpentry and construction. It's a whole another world to go back into the 1840s carpentry and Sawyer world, basically.
Now, basically, the shops now, folks, there used to be kind of a distinction between the Sawyer shop and the carpentry shop, and now we've kind of opened that up, like Don says, to a flow, so they kind of mix with each other as they would have, because the Sawyer's bringing in the wood that the carpenter's going to use in that respect. And so I think it's much more open. I think you can watch the carpenters work better. Mm-hmm. And if we have students down there, which we have at different times from different schools, and if they have a little project to work on, now we got some bench space for them to actually work on these projects, where before they just have to be only 1 or 2 students at a time. This time we could take probably 8 or 10 students working on a bench, because we built the back bench now. Also, Tom...
That's a very good point, and that was the impetus to this whole reorganization of the carpenter shop. Last Heritage Holidays, we had a number of people in there, young people. We draw shaved some wood and let them carve their name in it, and we just found that it was just too compact, too cluttered to provide a good space for them to enjoy this. And so that was really what started it. So that was good that you brought that up.
Yeah, and also Tom had taken a large coin from a large tree that was cut, and he has put a timeline of the Wakely family, when the Wakeleys came and what happened certain years when certain children were born and this sort of thing. So it gives you a perspective on this large coin, this block of wood that was cut off. And it's a visible thing to see. You can tell people dates, but if they can actually see it and put onto a timeline on a tree, just like you'd use rings for certain years, this was a timeline with using that large chunk of wood. So that worked out great. And from the rest of the site, from talking to people, I got very good feedback that everybody was really busy, and surprisingly on Saturday, a large crowd came in. The kitchen was busy because of the different activities. The cook-off contest went well. We had a lot of participants. I think there was about 9 or 10 participants in the cast iron cook-off contest, and so we had a lot of people that were involved in that. And so overall the festival went well. Sunday was another good day. Turned out a little warmer, a little steamy after that rain we had on Saturday. It got a little humid, but if you don't have a downpour of rain, that's great for us out there. The next event we did, just as a sideline for everybody, is the bike ride along the Wisconsin River. They stop every other year in Wisconsin Rapids. In the off years, they're in Stevens Point, and they came through about a week ago, and we provided them with breakfast at Lincoln High School, and that went very well. We had about 130, I think we did, or 120 we did breakfast for. Don and I were there amongst probably another 10 or 12 different volunteers from our organization, and it's a fundraiser for us, plus providing breakfast for them. We've done it now probably 10 times, so probably 20 years, because they come every other year. So it's a good time to get together, and we kind of visit, and Don and I kind of kid once in a while that maybe we'd like to take that bike ride. I guess we're going to have to do it in the off year, Don.
Well, we're getting a lot. It's really something we should bring up is we've been getting a lot more volunteers, and
Yes.
and it makes things easier for everyone. So and we can always use more volunteers, and I basically say that because if you do volunteer, you're not going to be overworked, because there's plenty of...
There's plenty to do, and it doesn't matter what level you're at. If you want to even just address envelopes, or if you want to come and help us on Mondays, that's our main work day, is Monday mornings. We'll probably be amping it up a little bit because we have the bunkhouse project coming up that we'll be starting on quite soon. We've been doing a little clearing, and we'll be digging some holes for footings and everything in the near future, and so that project is always up there. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Mead Witter Foundation for a nice grant for the bunkhouse.
Yes.
Very helpful for us. We're not endowed with a lot of capital, so any little bit that we can get helps with buying materials and things for that, because I know on the nails alone that we bought, we have to buy historic nails, and my thought was, I think it was a little over $500 for the nails just for this project. Certainly we'll have a few nails left from this project, but the majority of them will be used on this project, and so we're looking at just cast iron nails, $500. So you can see what the cost of historic projects can be. Of course, we're fortunate to have a donation of lots of lumber from different individuals that think of us when they have some extra lumber and that sort of thing. And of course, it has to be all dimensionally cut, not plain lumber and that sort of thing. So we're always thankful for that.
I don't know if I was clear enough with the volunteers. My biggest point I wanted to make was it's just getting more fun out there with
more people.
With more people.
Yeah, and I think the more we're out in the community, like the bicycle along the Wisconsin River event and other events like that, it shows people that we're out and about and that they want to become a member of our organization or volunteer in our organization because of all the things we're doing. I think that's probably... People want to be involved with people that are doing something,
yes.
And I think that's part of it. The big event we got coming up and what we want to talk about for some time now is our Wakely's Whodunit, which is our kind of our mystery. This year it'll be on Sunday, July 19th from 2 to 5 p.m. at the site. Don and I are both in it. Don is Sheriff Buck and I'm Robert Wakely, and we're fortunate we're one of three men on the cast, and mostly women. Luke Konkel, a local gentleman that graduated from school here, and he has been writing the mystery theaters ever since Rhonda Whetstone kind of took a semi-retirement and gave it over to Luke. And so Luke has written, probably this will be his, I think, third or fourth one now. And this one is a mystery. It's a murder mystery. What happened is Robert Wakely purchased a painting from Nicolas Cartier, and Nicholas was soon after this was bludgeoned to death, and he died. And those that knew about this painting that Robert Wakely brought from Nicolas Cartier, were threatened. And so this story goes on like this. And of course, most of the men, now we're in the middle of the Civil War, most of the men are off and fighting in the Civil War. So this is basically the women's war. The women have started a quilting club, and Mrs. Wakely started that because Father Seamus, who was the village president, is gone. Of course, he's working with the troops and trying to give them comfort in the field. And so what happens is the women get together in this quilting club, and they work on quilts, but they also talk about what's happening in the community. And so this is that opportunity for you to join in with the women that are down at the Wakely site that will be able to solve this crime, so this bludgeoning, this murder of Nicolas Cartier, a kind of a wealthy trader that was betrothed to Sunfish. Birch Feathers is a chief in the main Chippewa in the area, and Sunfish is his daughter, who was engaged to Nicolas Cartier. And so there's some feathers that are being ruffled here, you might say, and so we have to get to the bottom of this. So come on out and help solve that. The cast of characters I've got here are Robert Wakely, which I play myself, Mary Wakely, played by Bev Ross, Annie Wakely by Allie Katowski, Ida Mueller, that's the mother of Trent, and Tom Mueller, the Civil War soldiers that have been involved in the last couple of years on site, but now they're off to battle. And that's woman is played by Mystique McComber. William Rice, the blacksmith, is played by our blacksmith, Tracy Rice. Sarah Ross, the school teacher, is played by Elena Stoffel. She's a recent graduate of Assumption High School and off to the University of Wisconsin soon. The Sawyer's wife, wife of Andrew Crystal. Andrew Crystal's off to war, and of course Betsy Crystal is taking his place, and Jackie Urbans, one of ours, plays her. And then we have a nun that's assisting Father Seamus. Father Seamus, of course, is working with the troops and giving solace to them in the Civil War. And Sister Mary Thomas, played by Letty Dembski, is portraying Sister Mary Thomas. And then we have a nurse working for Doc Amundsen. Doc Amundsen, of course, is a Civil War surgeon, and he's off, of course, administering to the troops. And we got Harriet McMullen, who is played by Karen Nye. We'll be doing that. And then we have a servant of Arthur Corby. He's a regional power broker and wealthy man. And his servant is Dorothy, or Dolly Hirsch, and that's played by Mary Crump. And then we have Sunfish, or Birch Feather's daughter, is played by Beth Katowski. She's the one that was betrothed to Nicolas Cartier. And Benjamin Buck, the sheriff, Don Matthews. One of the reasons why the blacksmith isn't gone and the sheriff and Robert Wakely aren't gone to the Civil War is because of our age. The rest of them were younger than us, and they're off fighting in the Civil War and were drafted or enlisted, and so those people are gone. So this is we had asked Luke Konkel, who writes the mysteries, to incorporate more women into it. And so this year there's only, I think, 4 of us men, and the rest are women. There's about 9 women. So it was a great opportunity to utilize more of our own. And from community theater, we share a number of people from community theater, which is great for us, and we appreciate their cooperation with us and their people playing with us. And so it's a kind of nice marriage, and it's kind of the way we do things down there is a cooperation of a lot of different organizations to make things happen. So this is going to be a great time to, if you like murder mysteries, $4 for adults, $2 for students, and this is on July 19th from 2 to 5 p.m. And the great unveiling will be at 5 p.m. and Father Seamus will be back in time to give us the great unveiling of the mystery and how it went. And so there's a lot of interlocking of characters in this murder mystery. Normally, what we are given as characters is a script to follow. This time there'll be one general script with some people having different clues in their script that the other ones don't. So it's important to talk to everybody because there's an interaction between all these different characters in one form or another. So it's going to be a little different this year. The beauty for Don and I as characters and all the characters is nobody except for Luke Konkel that writes these knows who the murderer is.
Yeah, it's always a mystery for us.
It's a mystery for us, and I think it's probably easier for us that we don't know, so we don't have to worry about giving away something we shouldn't give away or doing something like that. So the value for us, I think, is that we don't know. So great time for you that enjoy murder mysteries. I know a lot of you have taken part in some murder mysteries or crime things, even dinner theaters and that sort of thing. And so this is a good time to come down. You get a nice little booklet that encapsulates some of this information and a little synopsis of each character, and then you go out with your little booklet and you make questions up and you go and talk to the different individuals, the characters that are there at the site, and then we have a ballot that you are given, and we have a ballot box to put it in. So good opportunity to come out and do that, especially if you like mysteries, and this is a murder mystery. Nicholas Cartier was bludgeoned to death, and so it wasn't just a simple poisoning like we've had in the past sometime. This gentleman has been bludgeoned to death. And I might mention that Pierre Charette and Jean-Baptiste Dubé aren't in this production. They're up in Canada doing some trading. They were also good friends of Nicholas Cartier, so that adds a little spice to it, because I think in the past the voyageurs were always looked at a little bit like, can we trust those
Suspicious,
people?
yes.
Suspicious characters. And a couple times I think it fell to them that they were involved in some theft or something like that. So a good opportunity to come out. So
sounds like a good one. There'd be a lot of opportunities to question, and I always like it when people come back. The
second time or the third time.
Then they ask you some. It's a challenge for us too, because we're asked some pretty detailed questions, and we're always surprised on some of the questions.
Yeah. And I think the people that I notice that really get into it the most are the ones that come around, but at first they've read everything, and then they kind of write down some questions, and then they come around, and then they go, say, to Sheriff Buck, which Don plays, or myself, Robert Wakely, and then they'll go talk to somebody else, and they'll come back and say, well, somebody said that you were involved in this. And so it's like they play off one against the other a little bit as much as they can to get to the bottom of it. So I think it's a good opportunity for everybody. If you like murder mysteries, this is going to be a great one. And Luke has done a great job. I can't say enough for him. He's volunteered his services, and I called him up yesterday just to check on how things are going, because neither any of us have our scripts yet. And he said, well, the next 2 or 3 days they'll be out. Before the 4th of July they'll be out. And he said he had changed something, and so he had to go back and write back through the whole thing in about 10 or 12 places, changing something because he had changed the outcome or a little bit of a difference, and so he had to go back and change things and how different things are linked together. I don't think we realize sometimes when you write something how much is linked one item to another, that all of a sudden I told Luke, I gave him an idea. I says it's like throwing a pebble into a pond, and those outgoing circles that come from this one little pebble that strikes in the pond and causes this splash or this ripple of water out from it. So
it'll be a good challenge, because in the past Luke has almost made it too difficult, and we've had to kind of tell him to
lighten up.
So don't worry about being challenged. You'll definitely be challenged to figure out this mystery.
Yeah. Good opportunity. So I'd like to thank all of you for visiting with us today, and for Don to be here today, and we hope to see you out at the Wakely's Whodunit on July 19th between 2 and 5 p.m.
And we'd really like to thank Dan Hazel and all the scouts and all the adults that helped him on his Eagle project. We're very appreciative of the job they did on the warehouse, it helped us out so much.
Yeah.
It would be probably our whole summer project if we had to do it ourselves.
And we'll be doing the dedication of the warehouse in the fall at the Fall Harvest Fair, and we'll get invites out to Dan and his father, Al, and his mom, and the other scouts that were involved. We'll have a little ribbon cutting ceremony with the Osowskis, who donated the original building from City Point, and so we'll have that available to people to come out, and if they want to join in on that ribbon cutting ceremony, probably 1 or 2 o'clock on Harvest Fair Day.
And we'd also like to especially thank Larry Dye, because he worked very hard with helping supervise and doing a lot of the work on there, and
He did all the mixing,
bringing his equipment and everything
yeah.
like that, and his expertise. He's
those Eagle Scout projects are a great wonder, because it's the Eagle Scout himself not doing the work, but necessarily pulling the right people together to make
Yes.
it happen. So, yeah, thanks very much for that.
A little history. And the festival and stuff. We gotta burn something.